Welcome to the group chat with Tara Thomas and Amanda Goodman of Faith and Four-Letter Words.
Happy Monday. We are back with the group chat. It's 7 a.m. I'm Tara Thomas.
I'm Amanda Goodman. I can't even talk. I am Amanda Goodman. Thank you so much for joining us. It is Monday, April 13th. 2 days until tax day.
Yeah,
The big April 15th.
that's right. The deadline is looming. So for those of you who've already filed, as have I, it's nice to have it behind us, but it's crazy how quickly a year goes. I mean, just when you think you filed them, it's like, oh, like the donut commercial, time to make the donuts.
I have not yet, because I know, like, you know, when you owe money, you wait. You wait a little bit. And it's kind of like I was waiting and I was seeing all these articles, and I'm one of these people. Guess what? I'm going to pay my taxes when the federal government pays us for all the fraud that has been happening in the past year. So that's
so true.
That's where I'm kind of like, well, you know what? There's people making millions fraudulently off the backs of taxpayers. So when we get that back, then I will hit submit. Like, that's where I want. That's because it's just like, we're the suckers.
Yeah,
we're the suckers.
Yeah. And I was just telling my husband that over the weekend. I said, when you see how successful the Artemis space launch moon, backside of the moon trip was, it's like, that's what I would want our tax dollars to go toward, not, fraudulent hospices and daycares. I mean, I did. I thought of that. If you watched Friday night, the return of Artemis, the splashdown in San Diego, it was really cool. Because especially, like I said, if you've been at all interested in movies like the recent Project Hail Mary, I mean, it does make you feel so much more connected. It makes it feel personal when you see that.
Well, I just actually wrote about it this morning on my AG page that Lucci, my 10-year-old, has been very obsessed with space, extremely obsessed with space. I mean, she knew details. She knows everything about it. She also told me, like, the main reason she's never going to space is she doesn't want to get sucked into the black hole. She's like, it's a fear. I'm like, it's a fear for all of us. But, and I did that excitement came from her teacher. And so I had emailed her teacher just to thank her, just to say, like, thank you for, giving this girl the curiosity.
Yes.
Because, ISAPs are this week, the state testing, if you're not in Iowa. And I'm tired of teachers being forced to teach to pass this test. Like, I want the curiosity. So the space stuff is that was just brilliant. And I agree with you. Let's put our tax dollars to that, or let's send some people to the moon and not bring them back. Like, that would be, I'm there. I'm in that kind of mood today.
Well, if you also, are a fan of collective audiences, the Masters drew a lot of viewers over the weekend. And I actually never was a big golf fan as far as just watching the tournaments until I saw the Netflix reality series Full Swing. Sure. And once I got to know some of the personalities, I'm much more fascinated by the tournament. So I watched a lot of the Masters, some Saturday and then yesterday. And my son, who is a all-around sports guy, he watches everything from, football to NBA basketball, but he really got into it too. And so we were laughing, because if you watched Rory McIlroy doing so well on Saturday, then right when he started to, slide or struggle a little bit, the hilarious commentary and the reactions of the crowds, and it's the pressure is insane. So Rory had been doing really well, and then just when he went to make a putt, the commentator said, and he's been putting so well all day, and then he missed it, and then one of the commentators said, just the opposite.
Oh, wow.
I mean, they are so cutting in their critiques, and the crowd hilarious, because as soon as they, come close, everyone's, and then when they miss it,
Yeah.
So if you watched all the way up until the end, it was one of the first times where the end of the tournament still had so much intense jockeying for final position. And Scheffler came from behind. He's had an incredible run these past few years. And then, of course, Tiger Woods is now in rehab. And so he was absent from the tournament. But they did talk about how, for Rory, this was the opportunity to seal him as one of the greats, because now he's a repeat. So it was nice, if you're a fan of Rory McIlroy, to see him, almost blow it a second time and then end up clinching it at the end. So.
I did not watch the Masters. I've watched the Full Swing. It's a really good. I always think that watching golf, I had some of my best naps with golf playing in the background. Growing up, my dad watched every single golf tournament,
same.
and so like the golf clap is a very distinct clap. Like it's just a very, very, you can hear it and it just kind of lulls you to sleep. So if you ever really want a good nap, throw in some golf. And
it's so crazy. When we were touring colleges with Charlotte, we went to Augusta, and my stepdaughter who was with us, her husband is a huge golf fan. So we wanted to drive up and try to get a picture as close as we could to the country club, to the golf course. It is such a typical see it in person, looks nothing like television experience, because if you look at the city of Augusta, it's a small town, and then the way they during outside of the Masters, they tarp off with an extraordinarily high and dark tarp the entire country club, and then the rest of the city surrounding it is just like your average southern town with strip malls and crab restaurants.
Right.
I mean, so it looks so different when you see it in person. And the thing that's the most striking to me is when we were there, Augusta is predominantly African American, and so then what's crazy, the contrast is when you watch the Masters, there's like almost no people of color in the audience, but yet the whole town surrounding that country club is African American. And so it's a very weird dichotomy when you see it in person. But it was cool to say we went there, even though we couldn't like get onto the green because they have it all shut off.
I was over here. I always read the morning news from the BBC. And it was interesting, the headline today, everyone was talking about Rory, but they're also talking about there was a war brewing between President Trump and Pope Leo.
Oh,
God bless you.
Me. I'm sorry.
The spring.
I'm allergic to my hair.
That sneeze was very delicate. That's a very nice, you have a very, like, I didn't even hear it. And you didn't do one of those annoying, like, noises that, when people hold their sneeze, like that, the high pitch. Obviously, during the Easter celebration, Pope Leo, who is the first American-born pope, was criticizing the war in Iran, and which most religious people have been, because we promote peace. And so President Trump fired back. Pope Leo just, kind of said, "I'm not getting into a war of words with you. The gospel says, blessed are the peacemakers." So that was interesting. And I'm sure that it was added another layer for President Trump, because he was criticized by the late Pope Francis, but this is a little different because, I'm sure in the president's eyes, the Pope is ours, right? Because he's an American Pope.
Yeah, I saw some of that. And I just think, for me, I just don't think religious leaders in his regard should do like personal attacks on presidents, because for me, then, even though you have every right to have an opinion, then it's like you're making a level of, you're alienating people by who they might support as a candidate, when really the Pope should be above like the political fray, right? Because if you are a Christian, whoever's in the White House like doesn't change our allegiance to Christ.
It has to be a separate church. Church and state has to be separated. And I think that's where my dad has a really, really hard time with more progressive. I mean, Pope Francis was as well. And it was kind of like Pope John Paul. My dad's like, you stay out of politics. You stay out of, my dad is very much old, very, very old school. Stay out of the environment issue. Stay out of this, stay out of that, just kind of, I guess he probably would say, he would have some choice words, but I think he would say, stay in your lane. So it was just an interesting, when I woke up to it, I was just like, are we like, do we have to, can we look what we just did? Like you said, look what we just did with NASA, like all that excitement. And the best part about the whole thing, did you see, we shared it on our page, the ages of the people, the ages, they were all in their late 40s and early 50s. And it was phenomenal. And I heard that there's so much, I mean, I've been reading all these young girls, the parents of these daughters, they're like, there's a woman up there. And it made me sad though, because when the fact that we're still shocked that a woman was up there. Yes. That we're still shocked.
That's still groundbreaking in 2026.
It's really sad. So Lucci and Aria were asking me, did you used to watch like the space launch? And I said, well, I'm Generation X. And then Lucci kind of looked at me like, oh, here we go. I'm going to get a speech. And I said, no, I said, let me tell you why we're different. And this is horrible. Like I remember, and I'm sure people watching right now, you remember, I was in the classroom you know, and I was young, and they wheeled in the television on
Yep.
the tray on the cart to watch the Challenger, and we had all been studying, but Krista McAuliffe was on that. The Challenger.
She was a teacher.
And we were like, this is exciting. You know, teachers can go up here, and we're watching and we're clapping, and then it exploded. And everyone was like, and the teacher looked at us and said, well, okay, and turned off the television, wheeled the cart around, and then we went on with math class. Like, no one
I was
discussed it.
homesick that day, and I remember watching it live because there was, you know, we only had 3 channels, right?
Right. Everything was on, and we watched all that. We never even discussed it. I think the next, we literally went back to class. Like, it wasn't like there was no shock.
Follow-up conversation.
There was no follow-up conversation. I went to Catholic school, so the next day we had a mass for it, but we still, no one ever talked about it.
Right.
And then so ever since then, it's trauma. Like, I was watching, when you watch the takeoff, you're sitting there thinking, because I remember,
Yes, that's right.
remember how it made the shape of like a ram, the smoke.
Yeah.
Like, you remember how everything looks, and I still panic.
Right. You know all of the parents who are Gen X or were alive during that time.
We
The
all think the
family
same
members.
thing.
Yes. So I felt for those family members when they were on the, you know, the aircraft waiting, because it was like, okay,
You can't breathe.
yeah.
You can't breathe. And then so, you know, so I'm telling my kid, and so my kids were kind of traumatized just by me telling them the story, that because it was just, they just watched these people, these astronauts, and they're like, wait a minute, what do you mean they blew up? I'm like, they blew up. And why would you tell us that? I'm like, and I thought about that and how different the generations are. Like, they're so like, why would you tell us that? I'm like, I had to watch it. I watched it. Like, we went through.
Right. We're being honest that we went through some of the more intense world events in contrast to our children.
We went through some trauma. I don't know. I was thinking about you because I was thinking about like all of our music and stuff. I had to tell you this. So, the boys had a soccer tournament over the weekend, high school boys, and we're watching, and we had looked out, and my oldest was standing with us. Gia was standing with us, and her boyfriend plays, and Nico plays, but it was cold out, but her boyfriend had on his like jersey, no long sleeve, but he had on gloves. And so he had like Michael Jackson look, and Gia's like Dirty Diana out there on that. You know what I mean? And I'm like, Tara will be so happy that you just gave like a little Gen X.
I love that. Yes,
reference.
Very good.
And so we just kept the whole game we were doing. I'm like, he's trying to start something out there. Want to be starting something.
Oh my gosh. So I did come across a hilarious tweet that I wanted to share with you that really typifies the generational
Good word.
differences. And this,
Typify.
this is just priceless for anybody who is our generation or older. You will appreciate this. So this tweet, on day 1 of my high school history class, our professor got up and said, you are 15 or 16 years old. 200 years ago, people your age were married, planted crops, had children, and built a cabin by winter. You can do your homework. The bar set for you historically is embarrassingly low. You are not dealing with regional famine or plague. You do not have to save your family from marauders or go into battle to destroy your enemies. You have to sit down and learn from someone who cares about you in a safe, air-conditioned room.
I'm here for
You
it.
have no excuses.
I'm here for it.
So I screenshotted that and sent it to my children, just reminding
Did they
them.
like give you the eye roll back?
They didn't reply.
Of
In
course.
fact, they probably haven't read it. You are not a victim, right? In contrast to what some of those same aged individuals from generations past endured. And we've talked about this many times. I am convinced 1000% when people talk about, you know, the gray divorce and how everybody's unhappy in their marriages and how everybody's feeling, you know, woe is me about a lot of things. So much of it is because we don't have all the distractions that our, you know, the older generations had. We don't, because everything in our lives has been made convenient, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're not, you know, using a board to scrub the laundry, right? Because imagine if we had to do all of those tedious things, that would give us a lot less free time to worry and complain about all the little nuances of our lives.
It is true. Everything is.
What do you call that? A
convenience
washboard.
now.
That's what I was trying to think.
I know what you meant, though. I know exactly what you meant. But everything is very, very convenient at our fingertips. There's no patience anymore because kids do not have to want or wait.
Yes. instant
It's
gratification.
instant gratification. It's kind of like down
Everything.
to everything
like
is
chicken nuggets. Like, I don't like what you made. So, oh, hold on. Let me
no.
pop in some chicken nuggets, honey. I
No.
hear people say
No. Mm-mm.
that they cater so much to their kids with these cold lunches. I ate hot lunch.
Yeah.
Hot lunch is free for my kids. Eat it.
Yeah, you're the only school district that it is. Every other school district goes back to after COVID. They went back and started charging everybody for lunch, and okay, no, like I don't think that, but I don't know. I tell my kids all the time because I have some picky eaters, and so I will say like, I'm not Shoney's. Like, this ain't Shoney's. You want something else, then you can get it yourself. Like, they don't even know what Shoney's is. Like, Shoney's is back in the in the day.
Yeah.
But I'm like, then you can have some cereal. Like, cereal is good enough for me, and it's like it's just getting. I remember when we were in Europe, which is a dream in itself.
Yes.
And I'm getting text messages from my oldest two of a slide deck, which it's a PowerPoint, okay? The slide deck of what they want in their Easter basket. You're getting some artificial grass and a couple chocolate, but I mean, we're not doing this. It's insane
I love
to
it.
me.
No, it's crazy
and
how entitled these kids are.
But I clearly, my children are spoiled. And they like, it's like, what did I do? What did I do? And was I doing it subconsciously because of,
most kids right now coming from families, that are able to provide the basic necessities and beyond, I would definitely say they're all spoiled, because so much of what we do is now cushioned with convenience.
Well, and it's, and I think, the biggest example over the weekend is Coachella. Coachella really like makes me sick because it's now for entitled, wealthy. Coachella was like for hippies.
Oh, yeah.
It was for like the hippie, like, you know what I mean? It's kind of like Burning Man. It was all like, it's a festival. It was a music festival, and it was for like the free spirit. Now you've got to
like
be
$4,000 a ticket on StubHub.
It's embarrassing.
Cynthia Rowley, that famous designer, there was a TikTok. Her daughters did a TikTok where they commissioned Cynthia, their mom, to design all their Coachella outfits.
Okay.
Yeah,
like,
I know. And then the funniest thing is, did you see the drama with Selena Gomez? She was denied entry to the Justin Bieber concert, and now she's suing Coachella.
Okay.
Yeah, it's so crazy.
Why do you want to go?
So much drama. Of course, to me, I just thought, well, that's a publicity stunt, right? Because isn't that his ex?
Yeah.
So yeah. So then the most bizarre thing too is they showed a video clip of North arriving with Kim and her now British race car driver boyfriend Lewis Hamilton.
Okay.
So I mean, it's just, and of course we are fascinated by this because we are interested in the celebrity culture. I think we're more interested than the average person.
I'm not, except the Kardashians. I could care less about the Kardashians. Like, I don't want, but it's and the Sabrina Carpenter, there's a lot of backlash if you've seen that. Sabrina Carpenter, she thought somebody was yodeling and they were not yodeling. And so she's like, calls out, and she thought she was going to be funny and this like entitled. And I'm not a fan. Like, and I'm saying this, and again, let's have this conversation. And I don't want to offend anybody who's a Sabrina Carpenter fan. Like, I'm not a fan of some of like this new wave, like this new age of some of these singers. And you have to understand, like, we're coming off Fleetwood Mac. Like, we had Stevie Nicks. Like, you don't have anybody who's going to shock us. Like, we had Stevie who was making her, what I mean? Okay, I'll write about you that you did me wrong, and then I'm going to make you sing it. Yeah, I'm talking about you, and you're going to now sing it to me, to my face. So I just think that we had like talent and really good songwriters.
Definitely. Well, and everything wasn't so highly produced. I mean, if you go back, if you're a fan of 70s music and you're a Bee Gees person, go watch that documentary on the Bee Gees. They pretty much produced and recorded that entire album that they, is their iconic album over like a weekend.
Yeah.
And it's just the level of talent is insane.
I mean, Biggie just started spitting out Juicy, like out of nowhere, like walked in the recording studio.
Love rap too.
So it's just, everything is just, and like the shock value. Like, Lizzo is out. Lizzo has been on the weight loss. She was body positivity, and then she went and she decided to do a GLP-1. Good for you. And so she's lost some weight. But then it's like, I'm all for women. You express yourself the way, but stop trying to stun everybody. Stop trying to, like, I don't want to see any woman. out in public wearing like a thong and bent over, taking like pictures. Like, I don't want to see it. Like, does that make sense? Like, I don't want to, like, it's not like is it necessary?
It's the shock value has gone outer limits.
Well, and it's, I mean, I think if a woman wants to walk out in public naked, if she wants, go ahead, walk out. Go ahead.
Kanye's wife.
Yeah, like, go ahead, walk out naked, wear whatever. I'm not saying that, but it's like, you can't do that no matter if you are, what size,
right,
whatever. You can't do that and then get mad when people are making comments.
Yeah,
whether it's positive or negative. Like, you're walking out and you're naked, so people are going to comment. Mm-hmm. Like, don't be like the victim. Like, oh my God.
Yes.
Like, oh my God. Like, I remember it's kind of like, I remember I wore when I would wear Eagle stuff living in Texas and people would say things to me, I would laugh about it. Like, I can't be mad. You know what you're doing. You know what you're doing. You're poking a bit. Like,
exactly. You're inciting a reaction.
So I don't know.
Just eliciting a reaction. So speaking of that whole thing with Lizzo, it's so interesting because if you are a person who consumes a lot of social media, as we do, when I'm on X, I mean, they show clips to get a reaction. And then I end up finding out and seeing a lot of things that I normally would never see, because that is the one plus to the way that we're served up content is you can digest 50 different stories in 5 minutes.
Right.
So, I mean, it is bizarre when you think about years ago, somebody does that and it would be like, right. It would be like such an isolated audience. And now, because of social media, they've been able to have an incredible level of overexposure.
Yeah. And you know what else? Between the overexposure and if I see one more stage photo of anything, I like candid things. Like, if I see one more doing this, like and like, we know you're posing for a bit. Like, they got me looking candid. No one got you looking candid. Like, it's not a candid shot. Like, I can't, like, everything is posed and staged and like, and I'm just, I cannot. And then it's like, and then you see it because then that's how you see the teenagers and you see the tweens and what they're doing on social media. It's like, there's no candid. And then I also laugh because now what's popular on TikTok and on Instagram, especially, is, they're using like the 90s filters. Mm-hmm. No, you can't. No, you can't use our filter. You can't use our filter. You cannot use our filter when you're putting out BS like this. So if you're going to use our filter, then you actually have to live like we did in the 90s. You have to look a little busted. Everything has to be candid. You can't do any more of these like
the
cheer
thing. They don't
things.
Look busted because they do so many retakes, and we only got the one take and then had to develop it.
And we had to wait 2 weeks. We had to wait 2 weeks, and I think, wouldn't that be crazy? Can you imagine right now? Like, if you went home tonight, you all went home from work, and then you said, "All right, we're gonna live like it's like let's not go way back. Let's not like shock them too much. Let's go back to 1991." First of all, you're eating a meatloaf. Right? It's 1991. You're eating a meatloaf that your mom made, and think about it. Think about our kids. Like, they would not know how to function.
Well, no, because just taking the device away makes them feel like they go through withdrawal just from like the removal of the device from their hand, which is sad.
They would not know what to.
It's just, so Amy Shannon said, I relate more with Sergio Garcia when he broke his driver. Yeah, the emotion that some of these golfers elicit. I had a friend, my parents' friend years ago, I was telling my son this, how much professional golf tournaments have changed, because there was a time when you would be afraid to utter a sound if you were a spectator. And now that's loosened up and you hear the crowd quite frequently. And you even hear people sometimes, not so much at the Masters, but some of these other tournaments, like yelling out, like that TPC tournament. But the thing that's so funny is one of my parents' friends years ago at a professional tournament, because we had the big cameras with, that made the click sound, she snapped a photo right before a golfer was going to swing. He stopped play and turned and berated her in front of the whole crowd.
That would be, are you serious?
And see, back then, no one would have been recording it on their phones.
No. Yeah.
later try to humiliate them. So I mean, those golfers could
They're
really
serious.
snap on you.
It's
you
very
know?
like, so I'm like a bull in a china shop in like life. So golfing has never been, my dad's a big golfer. My dad and my
Yeah,
brother.
mine was too.
So my dad, I remember being in high school and my dad took me out to like golf, and I could hit we would go to, you know, the what's it called? The driving range.
Yeah.
And I could hit the crap out of the ball, but I would also hit it. My swing would finish like a baseball because I would have a baseball swing, but I could hit the heck. So my ball would always hook left. So anyway, fast forward, my dad bought me a set of golf clubs because this is how it was, right? My dad knew the world was a boys' club, so he sent me bought me a set of graphites when I graduated college, because he said, this is where all your meetings are going to be on the golf course. You need to learn how to play, because this is where, you know, think about how sad that is.
That still persists today.
So he takes me to his country club to play golf, and I hook the ball to the left, and I have a temper. So I take my golf club and I take it and I just, and it just like flies into like the trees. Like, we're by ourselves. A little old lady on a golf cart came flying out, and she was whisper screaming at me, "We don't do that here. We do not do that here. We don't make noises. We don't throw things around." And I got banished to the bar of the country club. So you think that I'm out of control, and then you're going to put me on the bar? You know what I mean? So yeah, that was the last time that I ever stepped foot on my parents' country club. I was not allowed to do it.
I love it. I love it. Christy said, I grew up with, I ate what was in front of me or go hungry. And that is so true.
Oh.
I mean, that there is a generational difference when you think about how we were not appeased at every whim. And I just, you know, if your kid is that really picky child, at some point we have to recognize, are they truly picky, or are they just manipulating you?
They're manipulating, and they're entitled.
Mhm.
Because they're so used to us already saying,
sure, I'll make an
I'll make you something
accommodation
else
for you. Or,
so now I just do no.
Mhm.
And I'm like, you can sit there and like, you have to understand something. Our generation, I think, I don't know if this happened to you. Like, my parents would make lima beans because my dad, those were his favorite. I hate lima beans. So my parents were, it was like the wild, wild west. You're going to sit there and finish that lima bean. And it would like, I would sit there. I mean, they would clean the kitchen. I'm still sitting there. I would outlast them. Like, it was like, who's going to draw the gun? The last thing. And I mean, I would, at 9 o'clock, I'm still sitting at the table.
Oh my gosh. Like, mommy dearest, I have never been a picky eater. So, I mean, there was almost nothing that I wouldn't eat. Like, I like beets. I like liver. I like lima beans.
Liver.
I'm not picky
dry
at all. So, and
liver and
so it's just crazy. And my children,
No.
I would say, are not extraordinarily picky, but compared to me, but I'm so extreme on that. I mean, I wish I were pickier.
But I tell you what, I practiced something, and I taught my kids this, because I'm telling you, the lima bean, like horrible, and they're not even good for you. Like, there's something in lima beans that we're not supposed to be eating them. So I would do that, you know, I would use a napkin, I would spit it all out. And the trick was to do a little at a time, so they would never even notice. And then you just balled it. And I would get so good with it, I couldn't put the balled up everything that was in the napkin in the trash can. I put it in my backpack, and I would take it to school the next day. Taking trash, yeah.
You really had the clandestine move. I love it. So Tracy said, my kids grew up with that way of thinking because my dad was over so much, I couldn't cave in front of him. And that's true. If the grandparents are around, they're going to be like, what in the world? Like, these accommodations are insane.
You know what? It's so funny though. Like, my mom and dad will do that too. Like, because you have to be like a really good parent in front of your parents, because you want them to look at you. And then so my mom would say, like, you know, that would never have happened. And I'm like, yeah, Nanette, and I was afraid of you, and I lied to you, and I was sneaky, because, you know. So it's kind of funny when that happens in front of.
So when we think about what our children have lived through, if they are old enough, COVID and the pandemic, it's their sort of, you know, 9/11 on steroids, because it changed their world as they knew it. And it changed us collectively as a culture. And there is a phenomenon that's not scientific, but is being widely discussed on social media. And it's called, the theory basically is the pandemic time skip. Okay. Have you heard about this? So this actually made me pause, because I think you and I both can appreciate and understand what this concept is. Essentially, during our lives, every season of our lives, we process what's happening to us by all of the routine, the jobs, the sports, all the sort of hamster wheel type activities that ensue over the course of our lives. And this concept is that because COVID-19 stopped everything, and we were literally trapped in our homes, that we didn't have that repetitive nature of events that we would process in the same way that we're conditioned to process. And so what they're saying is that in our minds, there's a time skip from when the pandemic started until when our lives seemingly got back to normal. We have a black hole because we didn't process and go through events in the way that we're conditioned to experience them. And so a lot of people are saying, and I thought this was fascinating, whatever age you were and whatever was going on in your life when you went into that period in 2020, in some ways were emotionally stunted.
Wow. Okay.
And, and I hate to say this, when those children that had gone through that at a quite a young age, when they arrived in high school as freshmen, many of the educators organically said they were among some of the most immature kids that they'd ever seen coming in as ninth graders. Because think about it, some of their emotional growth and maturity was stunted because they were sent home and lost and had that break in how they would have aged had they had normal experiences.
So Gia, sixth grade. It's like sixth grade. Nico, like third.
Thomas, fifth grade.
So third grade. So you're those formidable years where it's, that's very intriguing. Like that's a very.
I mean, it made me think about how my life at post-COVID has had a lot of challenges, and then you say to yourself, like, am I handling them as well or processing them as well, had it been pre-COVID as a contrast?
Well, it's interesting. I think COVID, the one thing that it did show us is that any job can be done at home.
Well,
with the majority of them.
No, I mean, like your sanitation.
But I'm saying, no, but like the majority of,
the
majority of jobs can be done at home. But the other thing is that COVID gave us something that it didn't take back, and that was like Zoom. And I don't mean that in like a funny, I don't mean that in like a tongue in cheek.
We roll our eyes at that.
Because it's, people used to love meetings. And then people are like, I have so many meetings, because that is such a 90s way of thing. Like, I'm so important and I'm so busy. It's not. And so the problem is the meetings that could have been emails, now they're just Zooms.
Yeah.
They still could be emails or even like a text. Like it's unnecessary amount of being overscheduled. It's not glamorous. It's not, it doesn't make, it's not a flex.
And we've all been there. We've all had bosses where that is a bragging point, is like, oh, I'm working 80 hours a week. And then you just think to yourself, well, then you're like the least efficient person that I know.
I know. I knew people that would do that, and they would kind of like, it was like the one upper, I work 65 hours a week, and I'm like, why? Like you're not doing your job right.
In no way do we aspire to be like you.
No,
because we don't like to actually enjoy our husband and children.
Yeah, right.
I mean, it's so crazy, isn't it? So if you feel that COVID, messed with your life, and you are not.
Sorry, I thought you were gonna do like if it's like the asbestos commercial, like where the
law firm. If you or someone was negatively
impacted
by COVID-19. So I just know that you're not crazy, because I think that there's a lot of people who are like, get over it. Right. And when we do see people, okay, here's a great visualization of what we just talked about. A lot of the people that are, for whatever reason, and that's their choice, a lot of the people that are still wearing masks, perhaps their emotional maturity has stunted a bit, because they still see themselves as that person going through COVID, and they can't move on when the rest of us have really evolved to a place differently.
And I love when people share Facebook memories. I do it too. Like I love when people share, and somebody had just shared recently on Facebook, it was their memories. And it was like, I think an NHS induction, and you see just the kids lined up on the stage and they're all wearing masks, and it's just so eerie. And I keep thinking, I can't even believe that, because I remember doing the news, and every time we would do international news and it was something about China, and you would see people all the time on their public transportation wearing masks. And I'm like, that must be a horrible way to live. And so it is still surreal that we lived where, now I am down with like keep 6 feet, stand 6 feet from me. I mean, I'm down for that. Like, I think there should still
Which
be
is
that
ironic because where you grew up, there's an overabundance of people.
there's an overabundance of people. However, no one's in your space. Does that make sense? Like here, this is my pet peeve. Like, please stop doing this. If I am at the cash register and I am paying right here, I shouldn't feel your breath. Like, I shouldn't feel your breath. Like the other day, there was like a woman and she was like right here, and I was like this. Like, you know, like, and I can't, like,
that is so funny. That's so true.
that would never
That is
happen
so
back home. Like, that would never, ever, ever, ever happen back home, because you literally would get like popped in the mouth. Like, I was
Oh my
like,
gosh, that
and-
is hilarious.
and so I can't say, I mean, I can, but, then
Back
I'm like,
up.
but I can't say like, do you mind? Like, but she right here. And I'm like, but you know, when you're paying, like nobody has like, there's that sense of space. Like, back up.
Yeah.
So give me the 6 foot rule again.
But can you believe? I mean, I was thinking about this the other day. It's been 6 years.
I know. No, it
I
feels
mean,
like yesterday.
if you look at our
Mhm.
kids, they were babies compared to now.
Yeah. Aria was
6
a
years.
toddler.
It's just
Aria was a toddler.
crazy how, and I think post COVID, because everything slowed down, then once we came out on the other side of it, everything sped up.
I know.
It sped up. Now, not to be a conspiracy theorist by any means, but I did have to mention, if you've been on TikTok, there is talk of a virus coming out of India
Ugh.
that they think is going to be, some people, of course, are jumping on that bandwagon, but they think it's going to be the next COVID. And the difference, and I don't even know the name of it, and I haven't looked into it, but it sounds like the difference is that at least with COVID, even though it wasn't always effective, this virus doesn't even have any kind of medical intervention. There's no way to like treat it. And so, of course, if you are somebody who does follow some of the trends from a conspiracy lens, people have always maintained that there would be another pandemic in our lifetime, because look at how many people got wealthy off of it.
I was just going to say that.
The
Of course.
vaccines.
The vaccines. Yeah. Pfizer, and they've made billions of dollars. So what why not? Why wouldn't they? It's just so gross.
So it's scary to think that there is a high probability that in our lifetime, and definitely our children's lifetime, that there would be a COVID 2.0.
Right. It's coming. I do have to tell you, I got an email late last week from a woman who wanted me to use my page and to talk about Senior Assassin, and Senior Assassin needs to be banned. And if you're not familiar with Senior Assassin, Tara has gone through it with Charlotte. I went through it with Gia this year. It is basically a giant water gun fight amongst the seniors in high school, and they get a sign and they have to take out somebody. And so a woman said it's very dangerous. Let the kids be kids. I think it's hilarious. The plotting, the parents are involved, the teachers are involved, and here's the thing. These seniors, they're just coming off a year where they were taking ACT, SATs. They're worried about what they're doing after high school, whether it's college, trade school, starting in the workforce, all the stress of the world. The weight of the world is on their shoulders because they feel like their childhood is over. They have to make these adulting decisions. Let them be kids.
Yeah, and we've put bubble wrap around everything in their lives, so it's nice that they can still do something that's fun and that feels a little on the edge, a little dangerous, right? Because we've made sure that they had seatbelts and car seats and booster seats.
Oh my God.
All the things that our parents
all of those
didn't have.
Yeah. Well, and Gia got taken out in our garage by her friend. So she gets taken out of her garage, and the audio
that's so funny.
The audio is hilarious because she starts screaming at him. She's like, "What are you doing? You don't have to get me." And he has the water gun, and he's like, "I'm sorry, Gia. I'm sorry. I'm sorry." And as he's squirting her, and I was laughing. And so I looked at her and I went, You had your car in the garage. She's like, "Yeah." I said, "But you left the door open?" I was like, amateur. Right? Like, your head should be on a swivel, kid. Let the kids have fun. They're not hurting anybody. I mean, actually, if you say like, "Hey, can I help you out?" They need adults to team up with them. They need you will have so much fun. There's so many parents who have gotten involved and are like driving their kids around. It
I
is.
know. I love
fun.
it. It's the one time when they might need your help, actually.
They do. They do.
They-
Yeah.
So my mom is watching Good Morning Joanne. She said, I didn't have time to focus on COVID being thrown into the job of caregiver for my Lewy body dementia husband. It was definitely a black hole in my life. And that is such a good point, because for so many of us, if we had jobs or children in school, and that was sort of, our lives at that time, we had the luxury of just being able to come home and, like she said, do our jobs from home and then just have that
Yeah,
time,
but your
right?
mom was in a.
Yeah. So my mom, it was a nightmare, because then the only plus was she didn't have to fight my dad to take away the car keys, because no one was driving anywhere anyway. So, I mean, in some ways we've said that was like,
Especially in Illinois too, because those restrictions
they were so strict.
so
And
bad.
I mean, I'll never forget the angel intervention with my dad was when we did put him into a nursing care facility, memory care facility, and he was only in there for 2 weeks. But when we walked in there in 2021, Illinois, like some of the more restrictive states, they were not allowing outside visitors to come into these senior facilities. And as we now know, that led to a level of loneliness and just
broken hearts.
Yes, for these people in these facilities. And I'll never forget when my mom, when she walked in there, she recognized the lady that was running the facility was a former second grade student of hers. And it was like, what a blessing that she said to my mom, you're going to be able to see Jim. You're going to be able to come in and have contact. And we are, eternally grateful for that, because that would have just been, my father already had given up the will to live when he got to that facility, but that would have been made it so much worse. And so for those of you who during COVID were going through caregiving or widowhood or all the things, I think it definitely did exacerbate what was already a horrible situation they were living in because of the isolation. I mean, we weren't able to come and visit my dad.
Oh no, that's awful if you think about that. So many people, I think so many people died of broken hearts and being separated. I think at the end of 2020, it's when no one was allowed to fly. You weren't allowed to have people in your home. I mean, think about that. We had people saying you can't have people in your home. Like you can't have family visiting like that. And then when we're like, okay, like it's
right.
We
canceled Christmas basically because I got COVID during Christmas.
It's too much. And so then we had, my parents had flown out from PA and they were like, we don't care. We're like, my mom says this is hurting us more being away from our family. And then we did have an instance, when COVID was like on the tail end of it. And I remember somebody that was close to our family at the time did not disclose that they had COVID, knew it. And then, my daughter got sick and then I was angry because that was not disclosed.
Right. Because you didn't want your
my mother-in-law
to get sick.
Well, my mother-in-law wasn't coming in town.
That's right.
And she, couldn't get sick and because she was then traveling from here to Spain to see her. Right. And so for me, then I was like, because then people start getting really sneaky about it. And like, it doesn't matter if it's COVID or the flu or whatever. Like if you have germs or something's wrong with you, like, hey, don't come in my house and like, at least let me know. Hey, like I have strep, but don't worry, I'm on antibiotics. All right, cool. Like,
yeah. So my stepdaughter, the new mother, Taylor, she actually had been a long time social worker with DHS, Department of Health and Human Services in Washington State. And she, like a lot of people in some of these states with the restrictions, because she just didn't feel comfortable getting the vaccine, she got fired. And so it is interesting how many people lost their jobs.
Yeah, it is. It's very, very interesting how that whole, I mean, like you can't even, it doesn't even make sense. It doesn't even it's not even real. And it's one of those things where it's 6 years ago. It's 6 years ago. And then it just feels like yesterday. Yeah. And how everything changed.
We remember how it went from bad to worse.
Now it's interesting. If you ask my son, he loved being at home. Mm-hmm. So my kids loved being at home. We were all together.
I think a lot of the kids also didn't liked being away from some of the school.
Oh, for sure. They
grind.
I think that it was a break, but we were definitely not doing at home stuff at home. I mean, I think for the first couple of days we did like, let's do some yoga inside, but no, we were, me as a teacher, I was the substitute teacher who would roll in the TV cart. I was, the cool teacher. Like, let me turn on a movie. I'm gonna be in the back watching. But
So Brittany said one of the worst things during COVID was losing a loved one and not being able to give them that funeral they deserved.
Oh,
And that's
God.
so true because she said opening back up all the emotions a year later for a celebration of life was even harder. Forever
awful.
thankful for those caregivers that cared for them till the end when we weren't able to go into the nursing homes. And you
That's
know, that
horrible.
is so true. The trauma that those healthcare
Mhm.
providers went through
Yeah.
is immense because not only were they watching, you know, some of these people unexpectedly slip away, but many of them may not have had time to grieve or process because it was just like on to the next, I mean, there were so many people at that time coming in
Right.
that were sick, getting on ventilators, and then we didn't know, you know, the best course of treatment. I mean, it was really,
I mean, it was awful.
terrible.
And if you go back to thinking about it, like where is the appreciation, whether it's in pay in the form of a paycheck or time off or something, for all the people that we labeled essential workers? So with anybody who was labeled the essential worker, it's time to give them their flowers in the form
Yeah.
of pay or extra PTO. Because I mean, well, then again, you know, the liquor store wasn't that hilarious? Like your local liquor store was considered an essential. And but the other good thing that came out with COVID though, grocery delivery.
I was just going to say that it changed the way we grocery shop because now if you do grocery shop in person, you have to fight through all the people who are grocery shopping for other people.
And here's the thing. This is why I will either do delivery, or I always do pickup. Sometimes I do delivery if I can't make it there in time, right? This is why, because it keeps me on budget. If like when I go to the store, like I don't spend, I have a budget of what I spend every week for a family of 6 every week because we try to we try to do no more than 150. It used to be 125.
Wow, that's impressive.
It's because the recipe is a lot cheaper than, you know, because if I go to the grocery store, that I'll leave spending like $4.75. Honestly, because it's like, oh, what about this? So that is why I do online shopping, because I want to stick to my budget.
Yeah,
I'm not
that's smart.
spending any much.
Well, and the thing that's crazy too is now everything with these stores, because they had to appease everybody being lazier, now they still have those 4 spots in front of, you know, say Dick's Sporting Goods, or you name the restaurant or the store where it's for pickup or curbside delivery. But a lot of times no one's using it. So I mean, then there's like, but I mean, you know what I mean? Then there's like the McDonald's curbside delivery. Well, you can still go through the drive-thru. So there's like 4 spots now in some of these parking lots that are barely being used for how much they're sort of taking up space in the parking lot.
I feel really lazy. I just did Dick's the other day. I love going to Dick's.
No, I agree.
I love going to Dick's because I do curbside, and so I like it. I literally could walk in.
Right, it's 10 feet.
It's like their curbside is literally at the front door. So it's just I just pull up, and then I'm embarrassed, and so I have my window down, and I go, "Thank you." I said, "I'm just being lazy," and I mean I give that explanation every single. And they're probably like, "We don't care, lady." Like, you know, and the one guy was like, "Thanks, it gets me out of the store." But the one,
oh my gosh,
if it's raining. No.
Yeah, it is hilarious when you think about how, like at McDonald's, I mean, now they have the kiosks, you know, where order at the kiosk because the person who could take your order you can yell, "I'm right here. I'm putting in a quarter pounder." And they're 5 feet away from you. I mean, think of how silly it is. It's so weird how our culture changes in ways that we don't even process. Like, why are we doing it? Because
are we lazy or efficient?
Sense.
Are we lazy or efficient?
We want to say that we're technologically, you know, savvy. Yeah. So it's like we're using a kiosk, and then the person is literally, I mean, they're getting the hamburger as you're punching it into.
It's really bad. Like I just laugh because I'm thinking of like, I think of my dad every time he probably goes grocery shopping when he has to like scan, but my dad like sweats it. He loves self-checkout because when my dad was going through law school, he worked as
that's right.
He worked as a bagger. So my dad is like the old school baby boomer. When he's like bagging groceries, it's like this. It's gotta be, and he's got to like, it's like Tetris. And I mean, it's like paper bags, and he's lining up But that is so funny. Like, because there's like 17 people behind the counter watching our dumb A's using the kiosk. And like, I don't like it. I make them work. If I walk in and there's a kiosk, but there's a human. I'm going to the human.
I'll tell you
I'm
where
going to
they
human.
have the best, the easiest, fastest scanner is Aldi. That
Oh.
Aldi scanner is amazing because the QR codes are like a foot long on some of those things. Like the
like, I
bag.
thought you were going to talk about the
No,
whoever
Aldi is
the
great.
people who check you out at Aldi. If you don't do, are efficient. Have you ever
But
watched their?
No, I know. I always
Their
do
arms move
self-checkout.
like Riverdance legs. Like they're independently. They get that. I'm telling you, go see.
River,
Like if you had they are Riverdance legs on their arms.
Gosh,
They are efficient through that. Like Aldi is very, very efficient, but I just can't. Like Sam's Club is just, Sam's Club or like Costco, any of them, and you know, like you pull out, like, you know, you have to pull out your thing, like the pass, and then
No, but
everyone
Sam's
is
now you could that scan and go. You never have to show your card.
see, I didn't do that. But
Okay,
like,
you need to do scan and go.
okay, I need to.
No, it's insane.
But why are there employees staring at me? It's like the employees.
It reads when you go through when you're exiting Sam's. It reads your QR code on your phone, so they
So
don't
you
even
scan
stop
everything in the. You just
You
pay
scan
it
and go. You scan as you go.
Oh, I
scan and
scan as
go.
I scan as
So
I
I
go.
scan on my app everything in my cart, and then I just slide the little bar over to pay, and then the QR code populates on your phone, and when you walk out, it reads your
Okay,
your
why
QR
have I
code.
not- okay,
why are you doing this?
I don't know. But this is what makes me mad. It doesn't matter where you are, whether it's like Walmart, Target, it doesn't matter where you are, because everyone's a self-checkout now, right? Why are there 27 employees standing there watching you? Right. And then it's like, I feel like they're looking at me with judgy eyes. Like, look at the way she's scanning that. Like, you know what I mean? But I'm like, you could help.
And it's crazy if you try to be efficient and scan the same item 3 times because you have 3 of the same item. Sometimes, like, especially at Hy-Vee, it like flags you, and then they have to come over and enter their code. And so it is sad that all the thieves have ruined it for the non-thieves.
Well, and then this is what I love. When I will mess up something on my like little scan thing. Apparently the bachelor's degree is not working at the checkout. And then the employee comes over and they do this. And they get their tag out and they're like, and they're doing this and I'm like, yo, I'm not trained. Like, I'm not trained.
Right. I know. That's so true. Melissa Barley had 2 funny points. She said there was a cashier wearing swim goggles.
That's hilarious.
COVID.
Yeah.
And she said, remember
oh, the swim. I thought it was
era-
for the senior assassin.
No. Oh, wait. You're right.
The
It must have been for that. I had to ask the cashier why she had the swim. I thought she meant
COVID. It's not COVID. It's for senior assassin.
I don't want my eyes to get COVID. Okay, so she said, this is so true. Remember the arrows in stores telling us which way to go down the aisle.
Right.
I forgot about that. And then Katie said, to your point about groceries, that's funny. My husband just asked me the other day how much we save on groceries every month by doing pickup. So that is true, because then you can see before the sticker shock of checking out. Now, back to the arrows. Okay, when I worked during COVID, when we went back to the office, I was just talking about this over the weekend. They made the women's restroom, they made all the restrooms like dual gender.
Okay.
So what used to be just our women's restroom now was like, you know, an asexual restroom. Anybody could use it. I remember the first time I was walking to the restroom and I saw like one of my coworkers, a guy like coming out of it. And I was like, I was so grossed out because I'm like, let us have, you know,
just let me have
something sacred, a restroom just for women, not people putting the seat up.
Like you could smell the back. Like, I forgot about that.
Yeah,
I forgot about that.
We had arrows in the halls. Which direction to walk.
I'm gonna find the picture because the grocery store. It was funny because remember how you didn't want to look anybody in the eye at the grocery store when you first we were allowed back in. But somebody had posted a picture. It went viral. And it was so funny. This guy was wearing like a blue bandana around his face, and somebody behind him was wearing like a red bandana. He was like, it's about to be a gang war in the fruit section. It was very funny because then they said that you can't wear colored bandanas,
like Bloods and Crips,
because they thought you were like a blood or like a Crip, like it was a gang. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure my 72-year-old mom is not a Crip, but we can go with that. So it's so funny. Scan and go. Okay, everyone's doing scan and go because I have never done that. Because that's where I go for my fruit. That's where I go for my fruit.
No, I'm just blown away that you have it because it is so much faster. And when you leave Sam's and you see those long lines, I'm like, what are these people doing?
Okay,
Because
and they're not
you-
looking.
No, you don't have to wait in line. You literally walk out. You on your app. There's no showing of the card. Everything is on here.
Don't you
and
feel
then you
like-
just pay and go?
See, I would be that person that would do this, like walking out. Who, if I'm with my kids or my husband, I love scan and go because I have to let everybody know, like, I paid for this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't understand because I see these people and they're looking. I mean, they're in long lines. And it is such a total waste of time. It's so inefficient because when you put it in the cart, you literally just scan it and then it makes the ding. So it's like you have your phone acts as a handheld
I'm telling
scanner.
you all have to go to back into PA and to go to like a Costco.
Oh, wait, that's the other thing you weren't doing that I couldn't believe is you weren't doing telehealth.
No, I wasn't. Now I am. I love it. I know.
If your
I don't-
kid's busy and you can't pull them out of school, telehealth, you can do a visit.
Doctors
at 9 o'clock
on
at night.
demand is the game changer.
Yeah.
Doctors on
Yeah.
demand is the game changer, which I love because I don't want to go to urgent care.
Right.
You know,
especially when 90% of the time, I mean, I'm making that up, but you may not even get an antibiotic.
I really want to have all of people from Midwest, the Iowa nice people, come with me into a Costco in PA. I really do because I want you to show how we do it. Like I think it would explain because when you go and like there's an employee, like you hear everybody from PA. If something happens, they first of all, even if there's nothing wrong with the machine, people are checking out. Yeah, I'm checking out doing your job. 25 people standing here. Like they every time you check out. Every time you check
Like
out.
the
They're like,
commentary, I
it's a
love
comment
it.
like it's really
Well,
funny.
and
But
in some states, like Washington State, where they don't give you free plastic bags, you have to pay for every
Oh,
bag.
yeah.
I was like, ugh. Because when like Aldi, you have to pay for the bags. But I mean, it's so annoying because we take that for granted here that you can just use
sure.
as many plastic bags as you'd like.
Well, I don't need the attitude. Like, I don't need the attitude from the worker. Like, I'm not trained to scan. I'm not trained to work on your register. Like, I literally did not. I mean, if you want me to come on in on a Saturday morning for like 15 minutes and you can give me a tutorial, until then, please don't. Like when you're pulling out your badge and you're like, watch, like every
Now,
single time.
in a future episode of the group chat, we will have to talk about this. But there is a fast food restaurant now in California where it's by all robots that run it, and it's actually
Oh,
hilarious. It's
really?
actually hilarious because it shows the robot like making the fries.
Are you
So-
serious?
So I need to
How much
find
are
a
they
video.
paying the robots?
So the robots are free labor and they're
Okay.
replacing humans, and they're
So no-
saying that they're way more efficient than humans and they don't call in sick. So it's sad that we're our own worst enemies. They don't, they don't call in because they're having cramps.
Wouldn't that be nice? I wish I could call in for, Well, it's almost that time. It is April 13th. It is 7:57 on the Monday morning. And I think if you were in Iowa, we are finally going to enjoy some actual spring-like temperatures this week. I do know that we have some
Much
severe
needed.
weather headed our way. But my 4-letter word of the day is seen. Make sure that no matter what you're doing, I know it's difficult. We don't do things for recognition, but make sure that you feel seen and you are
Mhm.
surrounding yourself with people who see you for all of the things that you contribute
I
to
like
your
that.
professional or personal lives.
That's great. Our verse of the day comes out of Matthew chapter 5, verse 16. In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. And so people are watching, especially the young people in your midst. Don't forget that you set the tone. And so for a lot of us, when we do those good deeds, it may go unnoticed, but the person you've impacted is seeing your light shine. And then that reflects, if you're a Christian, how you want to exude God's love in your daily goings on, your happenings. And so for me, I love that concept of, you can't hide your light under a bush. And I think for a lot of people, you can be in a dark place, but you can still, be a light in the darkness for others.
Oh, I love that. Be the light, especially if you're helping somebody else a checkout. Be the light. Help us out.
That's
Thanks so
right.
much. Make it a great Monday. Have a great week. We'll see you back here on Wednesday for the group chat.
We'll see you then.
The group chat is brought to you by the empowering staff at Middle River Cabinetry, Splendore the Medical Spa, and Azalea Lane Boutique.